Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? There's so much speculation around what Sean Payton is going to do in 2023. It's roundly believed he is going to coach somewhere in the NFL. The where is the speculation. And boy, what a curveball that was thrown Sunday by our friend Jeff Duncan of Duncan of The Time-Picayune, the man who quite literally wrote the book on Sean Payton and Drew Brees, the book Payton and Brees, the men who built the greatest offense in NFL history. So when Jeff Duncan says it, I'm going to pay a lot of attention, and Jeff's good enough to join us for a couple of minutes here. Jeff, we appreciate it. How are you?
Matt, I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me on.
How much reaction have you gotten over the last 24 hours?
Oh, plenty. You can imagine. I just left a luncheon actually with Saints executives and owner Gail Benson. They had some fun with me. They took some good-natured jabs at the column, as I expected, but it was all in good fun, and we had a good time laughing.
So, yes, it's a column, but therein you actually lay out some things that I would say are reporters' facts. Let's just start with the genesis, where people going, Jeff, there's no way Sean Payton's coming back. Like, what would you say to the person right now saying, zero chance, not happening, ship has sailed, that's done?
Yeah, well, I think that's the actual point I tried to get across in the column more than anything else, Matt, was I think most fans, the general public, believes the ship sailed and that door is closed, and that is not true at all. At least talking to people very close to the situation, there's a possibility he could come back if, I think the biggest thing is the if, and that is if the organization had an opening at head coach. And that's a huge if, and this whole equation is, Sean Payton would have to have a reason to come back here. But I think people thought he was done, he left, and he's looking for greener pastures elsewhere. And from everything I've been able to gather, that's not true at all. And I think it was important to get that possibility out there.
So the big if that you refer to, if the Saints have an opening, I'll get to that in a second. But just for housekeeping, are you saying that you're certain, trying to use the right word, if the Saints do have an opening, Sean Payton would be interested in returning to New Orleans?
Yes, and I think the caveat there is he's open to considering it. Not, I want to come back if you move on from Dennis Allen, I'm coming back. That's not the case. The case is, if I'm looking at all my options and one of them would be New Orleans, yes, I would definitely consider that as a possibility. But I think he's going to explore every option that's out there and take what's best. But I think most people assume he would never even consider it. And let me just put it to you this way. This is the best way I can put it, to put it into context. Someone I talked to that I trust implicitly told me Sean Payton has already looked at the Saints roster. He's looked at the coaching staff. He's looked at the front office. He's determined who he would want to come back, who he would want to move on from, what he would do, what plan he would have. He's done that with all the options, right? Not just New Orleans, all the possible options. I don't think he would take the time to do that, Matt, if he wasn't interested in coming back. He wouldn't waste his time.
Jeff Duncan's with us. He's on Twitter at @JeffDuncan_. Make sure you get the underscore in there. Otherwise, you get some whole other Jeff Duncan on Twitter. Do the Saints reciprocate the interest, hypothetically, in Sean Payton?
Well, I don't think there's any doubt they would, but they've got a head coach right now, and I think they want to see him finish well. And I think it's a long shot that Sean Payton comes back because of that. I mean, we all know how Mickey Loomis and Gail Benson operate. There's a track record there. They're very loyal supporters of their people that they put in place, and they don't act very rashly. And that my point in my column at the end was just, I think you have to strongly consider it if you have a chance to get Sean Payton, because it's not just any other coach, Matt. This is a guy that is going to be in the Hall of Fame as a head coach. He's one of the greatest to ever do it, and he knows everything about this organization. And if you think there's a possibility to bring him back, I think you have to look very seriously at it, regardless of, unfortunately, maybe collateral damage that would involve, changing your head coach after 1 year, which I know they don't want to do.
Jeff, is there a scenario that could unfold over the next 4 games that could force the organization's hand to move on from Dennis Allen, even if Sean Payton isn't interested?
I think it's a very low possibility. I think it would have to really fall apart on the rails. This thing would have to go off the rails in these last 4 games, and I don't think that's beyond the realm of possibility. These games have suddenly gotten a lot more difficult. Carolina and Atlanta are in the thick of the playoff race now, a step ahead of the Saints, so you're going to get probably their best shot. You're going to Philadelphia. That could be a buzzsaw. And you've got to go to Cleveland, a place you haven't had much success at. So, if this team were to finish with a 6-game losing streak, I think everything's on the table. And I think they have to look at everything long-term and big picture when these decisions are made. But just looking at the track record and looking at potentially the money involved, and I don't even know what Dennis Allen makes, but just the going rate for an NFL head coach is around $4 million a year. However many years he's got, 3-4 years, that's a big check to write, to move on after 1 year.
You also noted that Sean Payton has 2 more years on his contract. I mean, the Saints have his rights for 2 more years. Could the Saints, or would they, potentially stand in the way of him coaching somewhere else?
I think if Carolina tried to bring in Sean Payton, and I think they have sincere interest, I think Mickey Loomis will hold them to a king's ransom in compensation. I don't even know if that would be enough, man. I think Mickey Loomis is not going to want to coach against Sean Payton twice a year. He does not want his team coaching against him. He does not want him in the division. I think they understand. No one knows how good a coach Sean Payton is more than Mickey Loomis. No one respects him more as a coach than Mickey Loomis. I know that for a fact, so I can't see him letting him go into the division.
We've had so many conversations, and Jeff, I mean, look, there's everyone that knows Sean Payton in some form, and even Sean Payton himself have talked about him coaching for the last 6 months or whatever it is. And we've always heard he wants to be coastal. He wants to be in a warm weather place. He wants to go somewhere with a good quarterback situation. The Saints have none of that. How much of the Saints roster and issues could be a potential bugaboo for him even wanting to return to New Orleans?
Yeah, I don't think that's an issue at all. I think there's been a lot of speculation about some of that stuff, and I'm not sure how accurate it is. Now, what I can tell you is he's living in L.A. On Manhattan Beach. He's very happy. His daughter lives in L.A. His other main residence is in Idaho. So he's kind of West Coast based right now. But most of the country, or most of the coaching opportunities, frankly, are not on the West Coast. You'd be limiting yourself. But that said, if either one of those jobs in L.A. came open, I think he would strongly consider them because of those things I mentioned. Those, and I think functional ownership, mean more to Sean Payton than anything else. Quarterback, he'll go get a quarterback. He's confident that way. He did it when he came here in 2006. There's no quarterback to speak of, and he went and got Drew Brees. Now, he's not going to get another Drew Brees, but he's confident enough to solve that riddle. I think that's not going to be – I think people looking at quarterbacks and where he might go are missing the bigger picture.
Man, $8 million annual salary. I figure that could buy you all of Idaho. I mean, does he own like half the state?
Yeah. Well, look.
That's crazy.
I mean, yeah, look, Sean Payton is wired differently than most of us. And I think that the thing I go back to all the time is a quote he used to always trot out from his mentor, Bill Parcells, and that was, look, there are 10 to 12 franchises in this league that are functional, that have a chance almost every year to win a Super Bowl, get in the playoffs, be in the mix. They're relevant, competitive. And he said everyone else is kind of swimming in circles, can't stay out of their own way. They can rise up, get in the playoffs, make a run, but they're going to sink right back down. You want to be on one of those 10 or 12 clubs. That's what I think he's looking for. He's not going to go somewhere where he can't be successful. He doesn't have to make that jump right now. It wouldn't surprise me if nothing materialized this season and he did TV for another year, even though I know he wants to coach next year. If it's not the right spot, he'll sit out another year and wait.
Jeff Duncan, before you go, if I asked you today on December the 12th, if I asked you to look into the crystal ball or the magic 8 ball, what do you think happens with this situation?
Well, I think more than likely he coaches somewhere else next year, and the Saints stick with Dennis Allen, and they are faced with a long, difficult offseason and a long, difficult rebuilding plan. And I think that is probably the path that they're going to take. My column was basically just saying there's another path there, and I think it's a much more viable path to getting back in the mix. But I also understand the hurdles involved in that. So I would say Dennis Allen will be the coach here next year for the foreseeable future. Who the quarterback is, I don't have the answer to that, Matt, and I think that's the biggest question that he and Mickey Loomis have to answer going into next season above everything else.
Jeff, I like your path way better. Can we do that?
I think most people would. Look, Sean, it's a unique situation, Matt, and I think the fact that the Saints still have his rights and the fact that it has not worked out very well. I think we can all admit that. It's kind of gone sideways already, and I think there's some serious questions about how this franchise is going to be competitive going forward. It looks pretty bleak in every aspect of the organization. And I know a lot of fans are worried that they're going back to the pre-Breeze Payton days, and frankly, I understand why they feel that way.
Jeff, I cared more yesterday about the Pelicans playing the Suns than I did about NFL football. That says a mouthful, but also pretty optimistic about the Pels. Hey, look, it is holiday season. Go pick up Jeff's book, Peyton and Breeze, the men who built the greatest offense in NFL history. Reminisce about the good old days, then maybe the good future days as well. He's on Twitter at JeffDuncan_NOLA.com. Jeff, we appreciate it, man. Thanks for making time.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Matt.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.